At exactly 23:17 hours on March 16, 2026, the night sky above the Tel Aviv metropolitan corridor detonated into a constellation of fire. Not one impact site, not a single crater. Instead, multiple simultaneous explosions scattered across a 12-kilometer radius of central Israel, the unmistakable terminal signature of a cluster munition ballistic strike. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps had just crossed a threshold that no military analyst had publicly predicted: the deployment of a ballistic cluster missile against a population center in the heart of the Israeli heartland. The projectile, later identified by IDF analysts as a modified Fatah-1 medium-range ballistic missile retrofitted with a multiple independent re-entry vehicle submunition dispenser, had been launched from a mobile tel hidden in the Zagros mountain foothills, approximately 1,100 kilometers from its target. It flew a depressed ballistic trajectory at Mach 12, deliberately compressing Israel's Arrow 3 radar acquisition time to a brutal 87-second intercept window. The weapon was not designed to destroy a hardened facility. It was designed to saturate, to scatter, to terrorize. The Iron Dome batteries defending Greater Tel Aviv registered the incoming signature at 23:14 hours, 3 minutes before detonation, but the submunition dispersal occurred at 45,000 feet altitude, above the kinetic intercept ceiling of Iron Dome SHORAD systems, and below the optimized engagement envelope of the Arrow 2/3 ATBM layered network. A gap. A deliberate, engineered gap in Israel's air defense architecture that IRGC Aerospace Force engineers had spent 18 months calculating. Only one injury was initially reported, but the psychological shockwave rippled across every command center in the region like a seismic detonation. At the same time, inside Israel's underground Kiryat military command complex in Tel Aviv, IAF Chief of Staff Major General Tomer Bar stared at the tactical display and issued a single, cold command: execute Strike Package Alpha 19. Israel had already been flying more than 200 sorties per day against Iranian territory for the past week. But Alpha 19 was different. This was not a suppression of enemy air defenses package. This was a decapitation package targeting Iran's strategic missile production infrastructure at Parchin, Imam Ali Garrison, and the newly constructed underground IRGC launch command node at Fordo. What would you do if the enemy just proved they could hit your capital with cluster munitions, and your defense grid had a gap they'd engineered specifically to exploit? Let us know in the comments. Stay locked in, because the next 72 minutes are about to redefine the entire strategic calculus of the Middle East. At 0:47 hours on March 17th, 2026, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, CVN-69, repositioned to the northern Arabian Sea following the Strait of Hormuz blockade crisis, received Priority 1 encrypted traffic from CENTCOM via the ELF transmission station in Jim Creek, Washington. The message was not a warning, it was a weapons release authorization. Codename, Operation Iron Meridian. The carrier's Combat Information Center shifted to general quarters in under 90 seconds. The strike package had been preloaded into the Tactical Air Mission Planning System for 14 hours. 12 FA-18E Super Hornets, 2 EA-18G Growlers for electronic suppression, and 4 F-35C Lightning II stealth strike aircraft operating in MCON Alpha. 0 emissions, 0 radar returns, absolute electronic silence. Their target, Iran's Kish Island, and the 91 square kilometer military logistics hub in the Persian Gulf that had become the operational backbone of Iran's Strait of Hormuz blockade infrastructure. IRGC fast attack boat pens, mobile missile radar coordination nodes, and a petroleum transit hub that Tehran had weaponized into a maritime denial system. The Growlers went in first. At exactly 1:12 hours, O2 EA-18G Growlers ignited their ALQ-99 tactical jamming pods and NGJMB active electronically scanned array emitters, flooding the entire electromagnetic spectrum over Kish Island in a barrage jamming attack covering every Iranian radar frequency from S-band to X-band. On the Iranian Air Defense Command screens in Bandar Abbas, the Kish Island radar picture dissolved into static. Not degraded, erased. The sector commander requested authorization to activate the Bavar 373 long-range SAM batteries. The authorization came too late. At 1:14 hours, the first salvo of AGM-158 LRASM missiles reconfigured in land attack mode came screaming in from the northwest at 550 knots, 100 feet above sea level. 4 IRGC fast attack boat pens and 2 fuel storage nodes detonated in a chain of secondary explosions that sent pillars of fire 400 meters into the night sky. At the same time, Iranian radar operators at the Kish Island command node activated their Sayad-4 extended-range SAM system, 200-kilometer reach, the most modern Iranian surface-to-air missile in the theater. But they had made a fatal tactical error. They turned on their fire control radar to acquire the incoming strikers. The EA-18G Growler, orbiting at 30,000 feet, detected the emission in 0.4 seconds. The AGM-88 EAARGM-ER, already hanging off Station 4, locked its seeker onto the bearing. The pilot pressed pickle. The missile dropped, ignited, and flew the radar bearing at 680 knots. The Sayad-4 radar had been active for 11 seconds. On the 14th second, did the Sayad-4 radar site cease to exist? But what CENTCOM planners had anticipated, and what the Kish Island strike was designed to provoke, was the IRGC's escalation response. And it came exactly as predicted. At 1:39 hours, IRGC Aerospace Force Commander Brigadier General Hajizadeh broadcast an emergency declaration warning that U.S.-linked industrial sites across the region faced imminent strikes and ordering civilian workers to evacuate immediately. The warning was not theater, it was coordinates. On the deck of a USNS underway replenishment vessel operating 200 nautical miles east of Bahrain, the crew had no idea they were already the designated target of a coordinated Quds Force strike package. The ship's silhouette, massive, slow-moving, high in the water, was unmistakable to IRGC imagery analysts operating from Iran's Noor 3 reconnaissance satellite. Destroy it, and you don't sink a warship. You starve an entire carrier strike group of fuel, ammunition, and ordnance. At 02:01 hours, Iranian Shahed 238 jet-propelled kamikaze drones, upgraded variants of the Shahed 136 with turbojet engines capable of 350 knots, were launched from dispersed coastal platforms in Hormozgan province. 8 drones, distributed swarm formation, 15-kilometer spacing, deliberately designed to defeat single-axis phalanx CIWS engagement geometry. Their IIR seekers were preloaded with the thermal silhouette of an underway replenishment vessel. The USS The Sullivans, DDG-68, Arleigh Burke-class close escort, detected the swarm at 02:07 hours via its AN/SPY-1D phased array radar. 6 minutes. Tactical Action Officer Commander Maya Rains executed without hesitation. She brought the AN/SLQ-32 V6 Block 3 SEWIP electronic warfare system to active emission, targeting the Shahed 238 data link frequencies with precision jamming. 3 drones deviated off course immediately, corkscrewing into the sea. The remaining 5 continued. At 02:11 hours, the Sullivans fired a 5-round RIM-162 ESSM salvo from her Mk-41 VLS. 4 drones intercepted. The 5th drone broke through the Mark 15 Phalanx CIWS on the replenishment vessel acquired at 1,200 meters, engaged at 600 meters. 4,500 rounds per minute of 20mm tungsten. The drone disintegrated 140 meters from the bowl. No hull breach, no casualties. But the ship's forward sensor mast absorbed shrapnel that degraded its ESM suite. Iran had just proven it could reach a carrier strike group's logistics chain. That 5th drone, the one that broke through, had forced CENTCOM to redesign its entire escort geometry for every replenishment operation in the theater. Meanwhile, at the northern edge of the theater, the Lebanese front was detonating on a scale that dwarfed all previous operations. At 3:30 hours on March 17th, Israeli Army Northern Command executed the ground element of Operation Roaring Lion's 3rd phase. 2 armored brigades, Merkava Mark, 4 M-tanks equipped with the Trophy Active Protection System, and Namer Heavy IFVs crossed the blue line at 3 simultaneous points across western, central, and eastern sectors. Operational objective: destruction of Hezbollah's 155mm artillery and MLRS complexes in the Bekaa Valley. which had been executing daily barrages against northern Israeli communities since day one of the operation. Israeli F-35 Ayadir stealth fighters preceded the ground push by 45 minutes in full dead suppression mode, hitting 22 Hezbollah Kornet ATGM sites and vehicle-borne air defense assets. AH-64D Apache helicopters flew nap-of-the-earth profiles through the Litani River Valley, engaging Hezbollah tank hunting teams with AGM-114R Hellfire II missiles. The Israeli Air Force had now executed over 200 sorties in 24 hours, a tempo creating airframe fatigue issues across the entire fleet and placing extraordinary pressure on the Israeli defense industrial base. But the assault was not going unanswered. At 0412 hours, a Hezbollah Falak II heavy rocket barrage, 32 rockets in an 8-minute window, targeted the Israeli armored column at the Maroun al-Ras crossing. 3 Namer vehicles sustained direct hits, 11 Israeli soldiers wounded. The Elbit Iron Fist active protection system defeated 2 of the 5 rockets that achieved proximity geometry, but the saturation rate overwhelmed its reload cycle. More critically, at 0417 hours, Israeli SIGINT collection assets detected encrypted burst transmissions between Hezbollah field commanders in South Lebanon and an IRGC Quds Force liaison element in the Bekaa Valley. 0.7 seconds of compressed data. What Israeli Amman analysts would later describe as operational synchronization data. Iran and Hezbollah were not operating as loosely aligned partners. They were executing a unified operational campaign, shared targeting data, synchronized strike timings, and a common battle management architecture connecting Tehran's command nodes to Hezbollah's forward artillery controllers in real time. This was not a proxy war. This was a single, integrated military campaign prosecuted simultaneously across 3 domains: Iran, Lebanon, and the Maritime Gulf, against the combined military power of the United States and Israel. The implications were staggering, and the world was only beginning to understand them. By 600 hours on March 17, 2026, the strategic situation had crystallized into something no pre-conflict model had fully anticipated: a 3-front war with full multi-domain integration, prosecuted by an adversary coalition that was absorbing catastrophic losses and still maintaining operational coherence. In Iran, over 200 U.S.-Israeli strikes had degraded but not destroyed the IRGC's command and control architecture. In Lebanon, Israeli ground forces were achieving tactical gains against a Hezbollah that was giving ground slowly and deliberately, preserving its long-range precision missile arsenal. In the Persian Gulf, U.S. naval forces had achieved maritime superiority, but at a cost. The EU's decision on March 16th to decline expansion of naval operations around the Strait of Hormuz had left the U.S. Navy operationally isolated in the Gulf. Trump's public criticism of allied governments for refusing to join the mission was not merely diplomatic frustration, it was a reflection of a dangerous operational gap in the naval order of battle that IRGC military planners had almost certainly already calculated. And one factor lurked beneath the surface of every analysis being conducted in Tel Aviv, Washington, and Tehran on the morning of March 17th. Iran had not yet deployed its Noor anti-ship missile against U.S. carrier strike groups. Hezbollah had not yet released its full precision missile force inventory, estimated at over 1,500 GPS-guided projectiles. And somewhere in the deep water of the Persian Gulf, an IRGC submarine had gone acoustic silent 3 days ago. No one had found it yet. The war was entering its most dangerous phase. The Strait of Hormuz carries 21% of global oil consumption, and right now the only thing standing between functioning global energy markets and total chaos is the combat readiness of the U.S. Fifth Fleet, an Israeli Air Force stretched to its limits, and the question of whether Iran has one more escalatory card to play. What do you think? Has Iran already played its final hand? Or are we one miscalculation away from a war that reshapes the world order? Leave your analysis in the comments. Subscribe and turn on notifications